All right, guys. Hello, Miss Koleski here. So I promised you all I would do a little bit of review over some of the math skills that you guys are going to be doing for your quiz on Tuesday. So I wanted to kind of go over some of the stuff that's going to be on there and go over a couple problems to make sure you guys understand how to do these problems. So feel free to look over this video a couple times before the quiz on Tuesday. Let me know if you have any questions. And as always, if you guys need additional help or you want more videos like this, all you have to do is ask, so just let me know. So looking at the sheet that I handed to you guys, hang on one second. All right, sorry about that, guys. Of course, somebody is going to call me as soon as I start talking about this. All right, so this is the worksheet, what I'm showing you guys right now. This is the handout that I handed out to you guys on Friday, which is today because I'm making this on Friday. So this is what you guys are going to get to use on the math skills quiz on Tuesday. So you'll notice on here, we've got up at the top, we've got our different temperature conversions. So we've got 4 different temperature conversions. We've got one that goes from Celsius from Fahrenheit into Celsius. Number 2 here goes from Celsius into Fahrenheit. Number 3 goes from Celsius to Kelvin, and then number 4 goes from Kelvin into Celsius. Okay, so you don't have to memorize those. I will give you those I will give you this worksheet, this sheet right here on the quiz on Tuesday, but you cannot write anything extra on here, okay? Now, the second thing we covered was the metric system. So I don't expect you guys to know all of these prefixes. I suppose I could make you guys memorize these, but I just don't feel like it. So we're not going to memorize them. So this is what it will look like. So if you are looking at this right now and you're confused, you may need to review this a little bit more. So I put little hints down here at the bottom. So you'll notice here, these first couple here are the large ones. So mega, kilo, hecta, deca. Those are all my prefixes that are bigger than my base units. Over here, these are my smaller ones. Okay, so deci, centi, milli, micro, and nano. Those are smaller than my base units. So remember what I told you guys in class. The larger one is always set equal to 1. And then we put these numbers, so 1,000,000 or 1,000 or 100, we put that with the smaller unit, okay? I also included your base units down here at the bottom. Okay, so we've got 4 base units we talked about. Seconds is the base unit for time. Grams is the base unit for mass. Meters is the base unit for length, and then liters, which is a capital L, is the base unit for volume, okay? So that is the metric system, so make sure you can convert between these. I'll do a couple examples here in just a second. And then down here at the bottom, these are a whole bunch of other conversion factors. Some of them are metric system conversion factors. Like if we look at the length here, right, we can see that some of them we recognize, right? Like down here, kilometers to meters or meters to millimeters, right? These are all metric ones that, you know, they may be a repeat of the ones above. Or over here, right, liters to milliliters, those are metrics. Anytime you see those prefixes and they go to like 100, 1,000, 10,000, all of those are prefixes. Those are the metric system ones. But again, you will have all of these on your guys' quiz on Tuesday. Okay, so I'm going to go through some problems, do a couple example problems that are similar to something that you may see on the quiz on Tuesday. And if you guys need any other questions or have any other questions, be sure to email me and let me know before Tuesday, and I'll try to help you out the best that I can. All right, so let's move on and let's do some practice. All right, so I got a nice blank piece of paper here. All right, so first couple examples I'm going to do are temperature conversions. All right, temperature. Ooh, I made this really big. So temperature conversions. So I could tell you that you have so many degrees Celsius and I want you to convert it to Kelvin. Or I could say you have so many degrees Fahrenheit and I want you to convert it to Celsius. So a lot of these are 1-step problems, but then a couple of them are going to be 2-step problems. So make sure you refer to your temperature conversions on that sheet I passed out. So let's do an example here. All right, so let's say I tell you you have, let's see, negative 25 degrees Celsius, and I want to know how many Kelvin that is equal to. Okay, so if you look at your temperature conversion sheet, if you look at number 3, so number 3 tells us that in order to get to Kelvin from Celsius, you take your degrees Celsius and you add 273. Okay, so all we would need to do is do negative 25 degrees Celsius plus 273, and that would give us our answer. Okay, so you would just type that into your calculator. All right, let's try one that's a little bit more difficult. So let me move this out of the way. All right, let's do one. Let's go from Fahrenheit to Celsius. So let's say I tell you that you've got something that is 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and I want to know how many degrees Celsius you have. Okay. So in order to find Celsius, you're going to look at your conversion sheet and you're going to pick number 1. Okay, so number 1 says, okay, to find degrees Celsius, you're going to take your degrees Fahrenheit minus 32 divided by 1.8. So all we're going to do is we're going to plug in 60 degrees for our F. So our degrees Celsius is going to be equal to 60 degrees F minus 32. And then take that answer and divide it by 1.8, and we'll get our answer. Okay. Now the only ones that you may have to do a 2-step problem is if I wanted to go, say, from Kelvin to Fahrenheit or from Fahrenheit to Kelvin. Okay, so let me move that one out of the way. So say I told you you had 23 degrees Fahrenheit and I wanted to know how many Kelvin you had. Now on this one, if you look at your temperature conversion sheet, we don't have anything that will convert between Fahrenheit and Kelvin. So step number 1 is you need to convert to Celsius first. Okay, so looking at this, in order to go from Kelvin to Celsius, you need to do equation number 4. So you'll need to do degrees Celsius. All right, so you'll need to do degrees Celsius is equal to, degrees Fahrenheit minus 32 divided by 1.8. I may have misspoke there a second ago, and I apologize. So we know how many degrees Fahrenheit we have, so then we need to find Celsius. So we plug that in, 23 minus 32 divided by 1.8, and we'll get some sort of answer. Okay, so let me grab a calculator and let me plug this in. All right, so when I plug this into my calculator, so 23 minus 32 divided by 1.8, I get negative 5. So negative 5 degrees Celsius. All right, once I've converted to Celsius, now I can go back to convert to Kelvin, okay? So now I'm gonna go back to my temperature conversion sheet, and I'm gonna use the Kelvin is equal to our degrees Celsius plus 273. Now that I've converted to Celsius, I can plug that number in, okay? So I can now do negative 5 degrees Celsius plus 273. Type that into your calculator. You should get 268 Kelvin. Okay. So that would be the hardest type of temperature conversion, okay? All right, so now let's move on and do a couple of metric conversions. So here's a new sheet of paper. So let's say I want to convert from centimeters to meters, okay? So let's say my question, we'll call it question 1. I tell you you have 60 centimeters, and I want to know how many meters that is equal to. Now on this problem, we can first look at it and say, is it a 1-step problem or a 2-step problem? So in order to figure out if something is a 1-step or a 2-step, you got to look at your units. So in this case, we got centimeters and we have meters. Anytime we've got something with a prefix, so in this first one here, right, centimeters, the C is my prefix, okay? Over here on the meter one, there is no prefix. So that tells me that that is a base unit. Meters is a base unit. Anytime you have a base unit as your known or your unknown, it's only going to be a 1-step problem. Okay. So let's actually solve this problem. So remember, every time we solve either a metric conversion or a dimensional analysis conversion, we always put our known and our unknown, our K and our U. So in this case, we know that we have 60 centimeters. What we don't know is how many meters. I always like to write out a little plan of action. So in this case, I'm going from centimeters to meters. It's going to be a one-step problem because I can go directly there. Now you need to look at your conversion sheet, okay? Figure out, okay, which one is bigger? Is a meter bigger or is a centimeter bigger? And hopefully we can all see that the meter is bigger. We always set the bigger one equal to 1, and there are 100 centimeters in a meter. So now that we have our plan written out, we've got our known and our unknown, now we can set up our problem. So now is when we draw our picket fence. We always bring down our known and put it in the very top, so 60 centimeters. I always put a 1 at the bottom, or you can leave that bottom part blank. Now we've got to take this right here, our conversion, and we've got to plug it in into our problem. So you have to ask yourself, are we going to put 100 centimeters in the bottom right here, or are we going to put 1 meter in the bottom? And I hope everybody sees it and says we're going to put 100 centimeters, in the bottom and 1 meter in the top. The reason you need to have centimeters in the bottom is so that it cancels out, right? Centimeters and centimeters should cancel out because they're on the diagonal. Once everything is canceled out, we're good to go. Now we can solve it. So we multiply everything on the top. So 60 times 1 is 60. Divide it by everything on the bottom, so 1 times 100 is 100. And then you divide those two. So 60 divided by 100, you should get 0.6. And 0.6 by itself is not correct. You got to include your unit of meters, and then either circle, square, highlight, something, your answer. Okay? All right, so that is a simple one-step problem for the metric system. All right, let's do another metric system problem, but this time, let's do a two-step problem. So let's say I want to convert kilograms to milligrams. So let's say you've got, what's a good one? 3.2 kilograms. And I want to know how many milligrams that is equal to. Now, remember on the last one that we just did, I told you guys to look at your known and your unknown prefixes. So on this one, I have kilo as a prefix and milli as a prefix. If I have two prefixes, it's going to be a two-step problem, okay? So on this one, we know it's going to be a two-step problem. So now we can start our problem by writing our known and our unknown. So I'm going to go ahead and put our known. Oops, wrong marker. All right, let's put our known and our unknown. So my known is 3.2 kilograms. My unknown is how many milligrams. All right, so we know it's going to be a two-step. Now, I can't go directly from kilograms to milligrams. Remember, you always have to go to your base unit first. And in this case, my base unit is going to be grams. Okay, so all you have to do is cover up your prefix, and it'll tell you what your base unit is. Okay, so in this case, we're going to start out with kilograms. And we're going to go to our base unit, which is grams. So that is going to be step 1. And then step 2, we're going to go from grams to milligrams. That'll be step 2. So this is a nice two-step problem for our metrics. Now, if you want, underneath, you can go ahead and write your conversion factors. I know a lot of you get confused on which one is bigger, but hopefully having that sheet in front of you is going to be helpful. So on this one, kilograms versus grams, which one is bigger? You should know that kilo is bigger, so we always set the bigger one equal to 1. So 1 kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams, and it shows that to us on our sheet. And then in step 2, you're comparing grams and milligrams. In this case, grams are bigger. So you would say 1 gram is equal to 1,000 milligrams. All right, so we've got our known and our unknown. We've got our plan written out. All right, so let's set up our problem now. So we need to make our picket fence. Now, because this is a two-step problem, we need 2 pickets. So when I draw my picket fence, I go 1, 2. All right, we always put our known down here in the very first block. So 3.2 kilograms. I always put it over 1, or you can leave that bottom one blank. Now we're looking at step 1, so right here. So step 1, we got to go from kilograms to our base unit of grams first. So you're looking, am I going to put 1 kilogram in the bottom, or am I going to put 1,000 grams in the bottom? And I hope you all realize you're going to put 1 kilogram in the bottom, which means 1,000 grams goes in the top. And the reason we do that is so that kilograms and kilograms cancel out. So then step 2 now, we're going from grams to milligrams using this conversion factor. Okay, so this time we've got 1 gram is equal to 1,000 milligrams. So I'm going to put 1 gram in the bottom so that grams and grams can cancel. 1,000 milligrams in the top. Cancel out my grams. And now we can plug it into our calculator. Okay. All right, so we're going to multiply everything in the top. So 3.2 times 1,000 times 1,000. Type that into your calculator. And I got 3,200,000. So 3, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 5 zeros. Now, remember, if you just put a number, it's not 100% correct. You got to put your unit, and it always matches your unknown, which is milligrams in this case. Okay? Circle your answer, and you are done. So that was a 2-step metric conversion. But we also learned about doing some other strange kind of conversions. So back on that conversion sheet, right down at the very bottom, the conversion factors reference sheet, we know we can use a whole lot of other things to go from length, volume, time, mass. So let's do one of those new ones. So here's a new sheet here. All right, so let's say we want to convert, I don't know, yards to centimeters, right? Yards to centimeters. So let's say I've got 4.6 yards, and I want to know how many centimeters is that. Okay, so this is a length example. So we're still going to solve it the same way, right? We're still going to put our known and our unknown. We're still going to write out our plan, but this time we're not going to use the metric conversions. We're going to use some of the other ones, because this time we're going from, the American yards to all over the world that uses the metric system. Okay, so let's put our known and our unknown first, because that's always step 1. And remember, on this quiz on Tuesday, I will be checking to make sure you have your known and your unknown. So we know that we have 4.6 yards. Our unknown is how many centimeters. So looking at our conversion sheet, which if you've got that, make sure you got it out. So the first thing we want to do is we look on our length section and we look for anything that has yards in it. And the only thing that has yards in it is converting to feet. So we know that we're going to have to convert to feet first. Okay, so in my plan, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to start with yards, and I need to go to feet first. Because we know that there are, let me get my eraser. Goodness. All right, so we know that in 1 yard there is 3 feet. So 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. So this is step 1. Okay. Now we got to get all the way to centimeters, so we're not done yet. All right. Once we get to feet, then we look at our conversion sheet factor again, and we say, okay, where are feet on here? And the only thing with feet on here, there's one that is with miles, but there's also one that's with inches. So my suggestion is we probably need to go to inches next. So feet to inches. And I hope you all know that there are 12 inches in a foot. So 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. So that is step 2. All right, and then our last step, if we look at our conversion sheet, we will notice that there is a conversion to go from inches to centimeters. So our last step, we can get to centimeters, so this is going to end up being a 3-step problem. This is step 3. And on our conversion sheet, it says that 1 inch is equal to 2.54, running out of space, centimeters. Okay. So there is our plan. Zoom out a little bit so we can see it all together. Okay. All right, so now we can set up our picket fence. Okay. Okay, so this is a 3-step problem, so that means we're going to have 3 pickets. So let's set my line. I got 1, 2, 3 pickets. All right, let's take our known and put it down here. So 4.6 yards. I'm going to put it over 1, or you can leave that bottom blank. All right, then we look up here at our plan to figure out what we do next. So step 1, we go from yards to feet. So I'm going to put 1 yard in the bottom, 3 feet in the top. Because remember, every step you need to have a unit that cancels out. In this case, yards. All right, step 2, we're going from feet to inches. So there are 12 inches in 1 foot. I know to put foot on the bottom so that feet and feet can cancel out. You should always have the same unit on the diagonal. And our last step, we're going from inches to centimeters. So we know that there are 2.54 centimeters. Sorry about my terrible handwriting. In 1 inch. And we know we put inches in the bottom so that they can cancel out. Okay, and that's 2.54 right here. My handwriting just kind of slipped a little bit. So now we can plug this into our calculators. So we're going to multiply everything in the top and divide it by everything in the bottom, which everything in the bottom is just a 1, so we can ignore it. So let's do the top. 4.6 times 3 times 12 times 2.54. And I got 420.62 centimeters. And that would be my final answer. Okay, so that is a 3-step problem, and we're going from yards to centimeters. All right, I'll do one more example. I want to do an example with volume, okay, because it seems like in class people are having the most problems with volume. So we'll do at least one example of volume. So let me add another page here. All right, so let's say let's say you have 2.3 gallons, and I want to know how many cups that is. Let me make sure that's what I want. Yeah, cups. Okay, so 2.3 gallons, and you need to convert it to cups. All right, so first things first, let's put our known and our unknown. All right, my known for this one, 2.3 gallons. And if you just want to put like a really big G, that's fine. All right, our unknown is cups, or C. All right, so looking at my reference sheet, I'm looking under the volume section. So there's only one conversion factor for gallons, and you have to go to quarts. There is also a conversion factor, it looks like, to go to liters, but I'm not going to use that one because unless I'm going to be using the metric system, I don't need to go to liters. So I'm going to go to quarts this time, but always know there are multiple ways to do these problems, okay? So maybe before you finish watching this video, you try to do this one yourself and see if you get it right, okay? So let's write out our plan. All right, so I'm starting with gallons, and I'm going to go to quarts next, okay, because I know there's a conversion factor for quarts. If I look on there, I know that 1 gallon is equal to 4 quarts. So that is step 1, right, going from gallons to quarts. All right, so now I'm looking at it again, and I say, okay, the only other thing that has a quart on there goes to cups, okay? So this is going to be a nice little 2-step problem. Okay, so this step, now I can go from quarts to cups because I do have a conversion factor for that. So this will be step 2. And if I look at my conversion factors, I know that 1 quart is equal to 4 cups. 1 quart is equal to 4 cups. All right, so now I can set up my picket fence. All right, so this is a 2-step problem, so it's going to get 2 pickets. 1, 2. Bring your known down and put it in that first box. So 2.3 gallons goes first. Now we're looking at step 1. So we're deciding, okay, where are we putting 1 gallon? Where are we putting 4 quarts? So I'm going to put the 1 gallon in the bottom. 4 quarts in the top. That way gallons and gallons can cancel. Something should always cancel on the diagonal if you're doing it right. And then we go up here to step 2, right? And I've got, okay, 1 quart is equal to 4 cups. I'm going to put the 1 quart on the bottom, the 4 cups on top. That way my quarts and quarts cancel. So now I'm ready to plug this into my calculator. So I'm going to multiply everything on the top, divide it by everything on the bottom. So I got 2.3 times 4 times 4 equals 680.8. Now remember, if you just put a number like this, it's not correct. You've got to include a unit, in this case, cups. And then circle or square or something your answer. Okay. All right, so that is a little bit of everything that's on the test. The only thing I didn't go over was scientific notation. So just remember scientific notation, what we did today on Friday will also be on there. So just make sure you review those a little bit before Tuesday, okay? All right, guys. Well, if you have any other questions, just email me over the weekend. If I can get to them, I'll get to them. Otherwise, I will see you all on Tuesday to take this quiz. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Miss Koleski out.